The dubbing egg is easy to tie but effective in finesse situations, and it's really saved the day for me a few times. I've already shown you the tying technique in this video, but here's a specific pattern and some details in the tying and reasons why I use this tying technique. With this technique you can really control the size of the egg and tie micro eggs with little difficulty. You also have less waste than you get with other egg yarn patterns, but you can still use the entire color spectrum of egg yarn and other dubbings. You can get some cool translucent qualities, and overall this is just another solid technique for producing egg style flies and not just strict egg imitations. Here's how I tie a dubbing egg pattern. Always start by making your dubbing. I use egg yarn, and global yarn seems to work a little better than McFly foam. You'll see a way to make your dubbing really fine later in the video. You can also recut the yarn again. And here's the final product. Before you begin tying, pull off some long thin pieces of white egg yarn and don't get too much material. They should look more or less like this. Now if you want to make your dubbing really fine, or at least finer, spread the yarn out before you start cutting. Just cut the dubbing in small sections. A coffee grinder is a must-have if you mix dubbings. Just put the dubbing into the grinder and make sure that the top is on securely. Then just let it rip. Another plus with this method is that you get to use power tools of sorts. Yes, I called a coffee grinder a power tool. Give the grinder some pulse spins if you like. Let electricity work for you. Then take off the top. This is how your fine dubbing will look when it's ready to go. Now let's get to the fly. Start your thread at the eye of the hook and cut or break your thread. Run the thread down to about the halfway point, then bring the thread up toward the eye. Grab a white yarn strip, which you've already cut, and fold it in half over the thread. Then bring it up and wrap over it toward the bend of the hook. Remember, the strip doesn't need to be thick at all. Now wax your thread if your dubbing needs it. You don't need to do this with fine dubbing, really. Just apply the dubbing, making sure to twist the dubbing in one direction. Now just wind it onto the shank to make a ball. I want the ball to be tight but not too tight, and I also want all thread wraps to be covered. I don't want my dubbing to be too tight though, since air will make for a more translucent pattern. Now make sure to shape the egg a bit and guide any of the egg dubbing toward the back of the hook. Make a little orange head on the front with your orange thread. I really like the fire orange. Then do a whip finish or two. And cut the thread. You can add a bit of lacquer or glue onto the head as well. The final step is to cut the yarn coming toward the back to about the length of the shank. As I mentioned, this egg style is great for creating micro eggs and controlling the egg size in general. You can split your thread and insert the dubbing into it, or simply apply it the conventional way. Then just create a nice ball and finish off the fly. Simple yet effective pattern, particularly when you need small to micro eggs. This pattern has actually taken fish for me when all others have failed for whatever reason. I hope this guy brings you the same success.